Hey guys.
Hey, how's it going?
So for my students, I just wanted to let you know that I am in the process of grading Project 3 today. I've gotten through about 15 papers, I think, at this point. So hopefully I'm going to finish grading today. We'll see. So just look out for that for your grade and your feedback in that.
And for my classes, 002, the 9 a.m. class, I've got all of your stuff graded. If you don't have a grade, or if your grade is 0, that means I didn't get anything from you. So deal with it that way. And 029, today, tomorrow, you should have your grades in.
Okay. So some of you have been requesting that we go through a self-analytical letter outline. So that's what we're going to do today. For my students, this is formatted a little bit differently than what you typically see from me, but it's got all the elements there.
Yeah, and for my students, you'll notice my slapdash sort of behavior that's been polished a little by Sarah. We didn't really, because we shortened the length of this and also changed it a little bit because of, well, everything. There isn't really a great example of what we're asking you to do, so we just decided to go with an outline over an actual example. Now, if you do want examples of longer versions of what we're asking you to do,
Yes.
look in Pirate Court.
Yeah,
not Pirate Court, Pirate Papers.
Pirate Papers. We were gonna go through a sample writing from Pirate Papers, but this original assignment is a 4 to 6 page letter. So the samples that are in Pirate Papers, while they are valuable samples, are a little daunting to you guys because they're so long compared to what we're actually asking you to do. And so it makes it a little bit difficult to, say, oh, well, I would want you to do this, but make it half of what the student is doing. So we decided that this outline will work out better. And like anything else, if you guys are confused, if you have questions, concerns, you can absolutely, contact us and we will help you out. We'll look over drafts if you'd like us to look over drafts. And please do, keep asking questions. Please keep letting us know what you want us to do. We want to be as helpful as possible to you guys. So let us know if you need further assistance. But so I'll put this document up under the Final Portfolio tab in Blackboard, as I always do, and you'll put it in the announcement, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So look for that, and we're going to run through it real quick. Okay. So to start with, this is a letter, of course, so it should be in a letter format. If you would like to see what good letter formatting looks like, just look in Pirate Papers. The one thing that I will say is that the papers that are in Pirate Papers are single spaced, which is fine. You can single space if you want to, but you guys are at 2 to 3 pages double space is what we're asking you to do lengthwise. So essentially, if you're going to single space, that means your minimum is going to be about a page and a half. If you're going to single space it, which is fine, you can single space if you'd like to, but you should follow that format. Well, actually, I've got a letter sitting right here. I can show you what I mean. So you're going to follow this kind of formatting where you have a formal, here's the person that this is to, here's the date, this is where this person is. And in this case, you guys can use our full names and then our offices at ECU, which yours is Mr. Willits is Bait 2005. Mine is Old Cafeteria Building G312. So you can use that. Okay, so next thing is, and I'm going to say this every single time we talk about this assignment, this is an analytical reflection of your experience. It's not an evaluation of me or of Mr. Willett or of the course itself or the assignments in the course or ECU. It's about you. It's about what you did in this class, how you grew as a writer, the choices that you made. You're analyzing yourself and your own writing. You're not analyzing the course. So please keep that in mind. You can feel free to talk about other elements of the class. If my lecture style taught you something or whatever, but you can't just say, Miss Parrish came in and lectured every day, and I thought that was cool. Not enough. You need to be talking about how my lectures influenced you in your writing and what they did to improve your writing. So that's the second element that we're talking about.
Also, just, I'm going to go ahead and throw this out there because I've seen it touched on in a few papers that I've seen. I understand what we're all going through right now. This paper should not be about COVID.
Yes, absolutely. Now, is it okay for you to say, I feel like I would have learned more had we not been forced to move to the online instruction. Absolutely. But you should not go for a paragraph long rant about how online instruction didn't work for you and blah 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 blah, because it's everybody has had to deal with it. We all know about it, and it's okay for you to say one thing about it, but it shouldn't be that a third of your letter is bashing ECU for how they handled the transition, or bashing us for how we handle the transition, or praising us for how we handle the transition. Just remember that the main focus of the letter is on you as a writer. As long as you don't stray too far from that, you'll be fine.
All right.
Okay.
So when you get to the intro, now for my students, you're familiar with this kind of thing. Sarah, I don't know if you've done this. Oftentimes what I'll do to just kind of help guide you guys is I'll try and give you not only, the kind of stuff that you should talk about, but really try and limit how many sentences you're writing about it to limit how much you're taking up. So in your intro, you're going to, and Sarah's done a great job italicizing this, briefly discuss your experiences with writing before taking this class. So this could be, for some of my students, if you took 1100 last semester and it didn't really work out for you, or if you had a particularly great or a particularly bad or a particularly nondescript experience in high school or something like that. However you felt sort of coming into the course. Then you want to talk about any concerns you had moving into the individual projects or the way things were done in class. Once again, this is not a period to discuss like how horrible, this has all been, we all know. But so take a look at, when came time to reflect, when it came time to analyze, when it came time to persuade, what were concerns that you had about that stylistically? Did you have any concerns about MLA format? Did you have any concerns about bibliographies or works cited or citations?
Or even more simply, did you have any concerns with when you hear rhetorical analysis? Did you think, I don't know what the hell rhetorical analysis is? You know what I mean? I mean, it can be something as simple as, I heard that this was going to be a persuasive essay, or I'm being asked to write about my own experiences with the first project that you were concerned about doing because you'd never done that before. So you can say that.
And you should probably focus in that part on what you've chosen to revise, not the other ones.
Yeah, it would make more sense for you to be focusing on the project that you're going to revise, because it's kind of strange if you sit up and you say, I was nervous going into project 3 because I didn't really understand how to write a persuasive essay, and then you start talking about the revision that you made to project 1. It's kind of weird to bring up one of the projects and then circle back around to the one you actually did the revision on. So you should probably focus on the concerns you had with the project that you're choosing to revise. Also, you're going to be identifying audience here and identifying which project you have chosen to revise. So
remember, your audience is, if you're in Sarah's class, it's Sarah. If you're in my class, it's me.
Right. So, your introduction should be Dear Mr. Willett or Dear Miss Parrish. Simple as that. Our dog is...
Come here, Tessa.
She has issues. Okay. So moving into body. Oh, and generally speaking, your intro is probably going to be somewhere between like 4 and 8 sentences, maybe.
Yeah, 8.
8's a lot. I would say probably it's going to be closer to 3 to 6 sentences, something like that.
Yep.
All right.
So getting into the body, here's where you're going to describe the initial assignment. That is basically look at the assignment sheet that Sarah and I gave you. So talk about what the guidelines were. What did we ask you to do? What were your concerns? Tessa, for the love of God, you are touching me.
Shut up.
I don't understand why you're whining.
Okay.
Sorry. So, what were some concerns with that particular project? You may have touched on it in the introduction, but here's where you can get into a touch more detail. And then, what was your process? Did you start drafting? Did you just sit down and, vomit it all up at once and then go back and edit? Did you do it piece by piece? Did you come talk to us? Did you go to the writing center? Did you find out more during, if you were in my class, sort of the brainstorming sessions that we would have, whatever. But talk about what your thoughts were initially and during the planning stages of the assignment.
Right, and about the assignment itself. So remember now, when we say the initial assignment, we're talking about the assignment that you've chosen to revise. I have had students, shockingly, who talked about the assignment guidelines for Project 2 when they were doing a revision on Project 3. So just make sure that you're talking about the revision that you're planning on looking into. And so it's like Mr. Willett said, it's what was your process in doing this? What were your concerns about the assignment? What did you do to make this make your original assignment? So just here I've got 3 to 5 sentences. That's probably what it's going to take you. You're just describing what you did to make this thing become a thing.
All right, so the next thing you're going to talk about is what was the grade that you received from us? What did it tell you about how successful your process was? Was it successful? Did it had you basically take any feedback that we gave you and helped with your revision? This can include feedback after the fact. So like, if you are working on it over the next week or two and you email and ask us for feedback, or you ask us for advice or something like that, feel free to talk about that as well. It doesn't just have to be
the feedback that you got from the grade.
Exactly. And then, it can take somewhere between 4 and 6 sentences, and that'll depend largely on how much your grade and the comments that we gave you affected the revision process.
Right. And, this is going to be the place where you say, my students, how I give feedback. It's going to be, well, Ms. Parrish told me that I needed to work on, my formatting. And so I went through and I put in in-text citations where I was missing in-text citations. And she also told me that my thesis was good, but it needed to be a little bit more concise. So I trimmed my thesis down to better fit, the paper or something like that. But that's what we mean here is, you're talking about how you took that feedback and used it in the revision process. So that's something that you'll touch on. And again, it's, 4 to 6 sentences, just going to depend. So, all right.
All right. And so the final portion of your body is going to be describing the revision you chose to make and why. So this by far is going to be the longest portion of the letter. All right. It's going to take you a good sized paragraph to do this. So what led you, I think that should be LED, sweetie.
Oh, yes, I did.
What led you to choose the revision that you did? Take it on me to misspell something in a assignment sheet. What led you to choose the revision that you did? How'd you go about making your revision? How did your choice affect the way you interact with your audience? So what led you to choose it? It may be that you felt that, that your message about if you're in my class, on the working world or something like that, maybe you think it would work better as a song, kind of similar to one of those old folk protest songs, or something like the Black Eyed Peas, Where Is the Love, or, anything like that. So, why did you think that was the way to go about it? If you turned it into a letter, if you turned it into a portfolio, or excuse me, pamphlet or a brochure. Yeah, sorry. Or if you turn it into a PowerPoint, if you turn it into a video. Why did you choose that one? Is it because it was the easiest thing for you to do while you're stuck at home with this? Is it because you think it
was more effective to get the information to your audience? It could be a myriad of reasons.
Sure. So
it could be that. It could be something as simple as if you're deciding to change to something that's a little more, difficult. If you're trying to change this into a podcast or into a song or something like that, it may be that you're interested in trying to make a podcast, and this is an opportunity to try to make a podcast. Your reasoning may also be something that, like, maybe you got a really bad grade on one of your papers and you just wanted to prove to yourself that you could go in and fix it and make something better out of it. It could be something like that. Or it could be that, you're changing your audience because either you didn't establish an audience well the first time around, or I gave you some feedback that said, hey, wouldn't it make more sense, if your audience was this person or this group of people rather than the people that you have established here. It could be a number of reasons why you decide to make the change that you made. But this portion of the letter is going to be you telling us why you made the choice to make the revision that you made, and then how you went about making that revision. So, what was the step-by-step process that you took to implement this revision? And here you can also reflect on, how effectively you think you did this as well. It could be that you have a brief statement where you say, I decided to change audience, and I think that I did a good job of establishing this new audience through this process of things that I did to do this.
And does it grow your audience? Does it, change your audience in any other way? Does it shrink your audience? Does it make it more specific? So, think about those things.
All those good things. And then finally, you're going to conclude. So, this is your conclusion. Oh, also, I wanted to say before we go too far. So, when I say body here, or we say body here, this does not mean that all of this is one paragraph.
Yes, for the love of God.
My students are used to seeing me break things up to being, body 1, body 2, body 3. You may have 3 or 4 body paragraphs. It kind of depends on how much you choose to write. So just keep in mind, the general rule of your paragraphs are usually going to be no more than a half page long. So there's that. So conclusion.
All right. So in the conclusion, this basically, we're talking again about short sentences or short little parts here. So first of all, what did this teach you about the revision process? What did you learn going through this? And, you can look at that as 3 to 4 sentences. I certainly wouldn't make it much longer than that. This is a conclusion after all. How have your feelings about writing changed? Or have your feelings about writing changed moving forward? I mean, try not to be insulting, but if you didn't care about writing and you don't care now, or you didn't care about writing before and now you feel like you can at least get through the next few years of college that you need to do, great. No one is asking you to become,
profess your undying love for English and writing papers. You don't have to say positive things about your experience with writing. And if you feel like you didn't grow very much as a writer, that's okay.
Yeah.
You can say that. I promise you're not going to hurt our feelings. I mean, not everybody is meant to. I mean, I would certainly say that I learned nothing in my math classes, even though I had some really talented professors. Mm-hmm. That doesn't mean that my professors weren't talented. It means that I'm terrible at math. And I mean, some people are terrible at English. So it's okay if if you feel like you learned very little, or if you feel like you strengthened very little, that's fine. You can be honest. We're not looking for you to sing us praises and to, change your major to English. Nobody's asking you to do all that. So that's fine.
How was your overall experience in 1100? Now, this might be the place where you mentioned something about COVID. This would be the appropriate place for that. But, what was the actual experience sort of like for you here? And how are you going to use what you've learned moving forward in your academic career? Trust me, these are not the last papers you're going to have to write.
No.
So did this do anything to make you more confident, to at least teach you the format of stuff? That's kind of where I would talk about there.
Right.
And then just make sure, because this is a letter, that you finish it up with a closing salutation. So sincerely and your name.
It can be something as sincerely. It can be best. It can be, whatever. It's basically just, okay, that's it, bye. And then your name. The other thing that I wanted to say really quickly, too, is just because we have all this laid out this way, you don't necessarily have to go through, like in this conclusion, you don't necessarily have to go through and answer all of these questions.
Well, right. Certainly not in this order.
Yeah, I mean, you write it however it feels natural to you to write it, and it may be that you talk about what you learned in the revision process and what you'll use moving forward, and that's it. And you don't talk about your overall experience or how your feelings about writing change. It's just these are here to give you suggestions of what you can talk about in this section. And it's the same thing here. You might not talk about every single aspect in this body or every single aspect that we have listed in this introduction. It's just to give you an idea of some things that you can do in this letter. So please don't feel like you need to, pull this outline up and go, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, follow our steps exactly, because that's not what this is meant to do. Because if you really were to go in and do every step of this outline, you're going to end up with well over 1 to 2 pages. You're probably going to end up with more like 3 or 4 pages. So please don't feel pressure to, answer every single part of this outline. It's more so there to give you guys a guide and some suggestions on what you might say in your letter. But the main thing about the letter is to keep in mind that it is self-analytical. If you get in there and you start talking about, how you really hated the classroom and how you really hated my lectures or how you really hated, doing peer review or something like that, you can't just say, I didn't like this class, or I didn't like the things that were a component of this class. You have to say, I feel like this instruction did not benefit me as a writer, and here's why. It has to be more than just, I didn't like this, or I did like this. It's about you as a writer, how you've grown, what you've learned in the class. So just keep that in mind. And again, it's not please, you can be honest. You don't need to sing English praises and claim that now you have mastered the world of academic writing because we're just such awesome instructors. Nobody's asking you to do that.
Yeah, sometimes I don't like my class.
Yeah, so and again, it's like I said, you're not going to hurt our feelings. So don't be concerned about if you say, I thought that the instruction was good in this class, but I really didn't learn anything. That's fine. We are very, very comfortable with the fact that you can't reach everybody. So it's okay for you to have, some critical things to say about the class, as long as you're doing it in the context of yourself, of how you grew as a writer or didn't grow as a writer. So that's the main thing. And, the other main thing is making sure that you do go through and talk about that process of what you did and how you, did the revision that you did.
Yeah. And, as far as my students go, Sarah's students, once again, if you have any questions, email
us. Send me a kick message. Yeah.
Teams, if anyone's still using that. But the other thing was, just a general reminder to both classes. I think Sarah's class is doing a little bit better than mine with this, but make sure that you guys take a couple minutes, not just for us, but for all your classes, and fill out those SSOI
Oh, yes. I'm so glad you remembered that.
Because mine are pretty skimpy. I think in 002, I think I have 2 responses, and I think in 029, I have 0.
So for me, I think that about 5 people from the 11 o'clock class have responded, and none have responded from my 9 a.m.
It takes literally 30 seconds.
It takes no time at all. And if we don't have at least 80% of our students respond, so basically all of you have to respond, we don't get to see the feedback. And it's feedback that we really do use and utilize. So please do those. It would help us out a lot.
I think they're posted under the announcements on my page. I definitely sent you an email about them. They need to be in the next week or so.
Yeah, I think the deadline is May 12th or something.
Oh, is it that late?
I think it's pretty far out, but please just do them when you get a chance. They take no time at all. And last reminder for me, are you still on the 6th?
Yeah.
Okay. Don't forget, final portfolio and letter are due on the 6th. They're due to Blackboard. It'll be due at midnight for my kids rather than 5. I know that most of y'all's stuff is due at 5, but this time it's due at midnight. Unlimited amount of times that you can turn it in, and as usual, I'll grade the last one that you turn in. So you got 2 weeks to finish this up, and we'll be posting some more stuff soon. We'll probably do a mock grade, and maybe go through a rubric with you guys sometime next week or later this week. But that's it. You got anything else?
No, except happy birthday to me tomorrow.
Oh, yeah.
Quarantine birthday party.
Quarantine birthday party. Yay.
Woo.
That's it. So we'll see you guys next time.
Have a good one, guys.